Welcome back to Gale Force Wins Season 5.
Well, folks, welcome back to Gale Force Wins. I always say this is a special episode, but in fact, this is a special episode. We have someone sitting with us who is no stranger to the Gale Force Wins podcast. She has done a bunch of things with us and for us. She's been very supportive of what Gale Force Wins has done. We were in Labrador together about 4 or 5 weeks ago at the Minex, and it was spectacular. She was the guest host. I am going to ask Jacqui to introduce herself, and we're going to have a deep dive. This is something I've been wanting to do for quite a while, but we're going to have a deep dive into Jacqui's career, and it's been fascinating. Jacqui, over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Gerry, and it's always a pleasure to sit and have a conversation with you, so thank you very much. And I know we've been trying to do this for a while, but life kind of gets in the way. My name is Jacqui Bailey. I am president of HR Project Partners, which is a HR consulting and recruiting company based in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We have 2 offices, one located in St. John's and one in Labrador City. We offer a full, suite of HR services, and including consulting, recruitment, and the provision of contract personnel. I started this company 10 years ago, so it's very timely for Gerry and I to have this interview because we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary in really the month of April. I started HR Project Partners in 2015, and I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit more into that into some of your questions, Gerry. But here we are, 10 years later.
So, Jacqui, that's an incredible introduction. 10 years in business. I got to ask you right off the bat, there's so many statistics out there. Businesses don't last past the 5-year mark. And I'm kind of getting the cart before the horse because I want to dig into your journey. But why do you think that you've gotten to the 10-year mark? Big question right off the bat.
It is a big question, Gerry. I guess I started HR Project Partners because I was facing unemployment myself back in 2015. I had come off of a project, and it was, do I look for work or do I, try the business route? So I decided to start the business back in 2015. I had no business experience. I didn't come from a business family. I had a lot of HR experience, I had project experience, I had industry experience, I had a variety of experiences, and I just decided I'm going to have a go at starting a business, and I'll see where it takes me. I didn't even look too far into the future. It was just hit the ground running and, see where it takes me. To be honest, I never really thought it would get to as big as it has grown in the last 10 years. How did I get here? A lot of growth, a lot of challenges, but honestly, it's surrounding yourself with good people. I have a fantastic team, and of course that team grew over the past 10 years. It's also about having a very positive mindset. By nature, I'm a very positive person. I consider myself a very strong person, and, I was raised by, a very strong mother and grandmother. And, so even when challenges hit you, you just kind of, dust yourself off and keep going. And I've had those challenges in the past 10 years within this, within the business, personal life, all of life itself. And it's still maintaining a positive mindset. It's not letting fear of rejection and fear of failure hold you back. And, I've had my moments of fear. I've had plenty of rejection. But again, it's you dust that off, you leave it in the past, and you keep moving forward. And just constantly growing. Consider myself a lifelong learner, so I'm always learning and educating myself, and I work a lot on mindset and how to have that positive growth, and I even have a business coach as well. So I think putting all of that together, having belief in myself, belief in the team around me, and just having some really, really great clients that trust us, which then leads back to our values, which leads back to quality of work, which leads back to doing everything in a positive light. And I think all of that combined, there's no one single ingredient to success. I think it's a culmination of many things that brings you to success. So here we are 10 years later, 2 offices. At peak, we've been 100 employees. We have an office in Lab City. We support people all across Canada. We have clients based from here to BC. So I don't know. I think it's just keeping on going, never giving up.
Well, we're going to go back into your journey as a younger person, but I got to ask you this, kind of get, as I said, the cart before the horse in terms of the way we normally do our interviews, but I think it's relevant based on what you did for your introduction. How have you grown? And then another big question in the last 10 years. I mean, prior to starting HRPP, the mindset you had, let's say 20 years ago, could not have allowed you to open a business? Would I be right in saying that, or was it always something percolating in the back?
No, I honestly never visualized myself owning a business. I was that pretty dedicated employee. I have had long stints in the various roles over the course of my career. I have a degree in social work, so I was always working in the helping field. And then I decided to pivot in the early 2000s, and I applied for a job in the training department at the Iron Ore Company of Canada. And I was coming out of a community-based role. I was, looking after and running a shelter for abused women in Labrador City. So I applied for the job and I got it. And that changed a whole other course in my career, because then I spent 7.5 years working in the mining industry, learning new skills, learning about a new industry, doing things that I, had not done before.
Yeah.
And I love new challenges, so I embraced every role. I think I probably held about 3 different titles while there. And the last title I held was, with community relations, working on the expansion project. And that really introduced me to the whole project world. So then, for personal reasons, I left Labrador City and I moved back to St. John's. And I became employed with a company, and then I was assigned to the Hebron project. And I was placed there as HR manager. I had never done HR manager role, but I had worked in HR. In, managing a shelter and working in HR, but I had never taken on that big role.
That's a big, big, big role.
It was a big role, and I stayed in that position for 3 years, and which we, grew our team substantially, and even the whole project. I mean, it was a mega project. I left after 3 years, and then I went as a project coordinator on another project that was, based in Labrador. And so from there, I started to grow, my skills around projects and people, and I continued my education and did the project management certification, so got my PMP. Again, just to increase my own knowledge around projects and, the importance of people and HR and coordination, all of those things. And then I saw there was a bit of a downturn late 2014 into 2015, so I was going to be finished on that project, and I was at that crossroads of what do I do next? And I decided with some support to have a go at starting a business. I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge or, what to do, but I did have, support to help direct me and coach me and guide me. And I hired Janessa Cole, and hopefully talk to Janessa in a little bit, because she's very much a big part of the journey of HR Project Partners. And so I hired her, and we literally sat down. We came up with the name. We right away got our values, which are very aligned with my personal values, because you live and work, and it's what you do every day, right? And it should be tied together. And then we created our website and all of that. And then I literally started hitting the ground running and just, reaching out to the people I knew, the contacts that I had. So I started with the lower hanging fruit, and 2015 was a very rough year.
It's interesting, sorry for interrupting you. I've been in business development for 40 years, and there's times when my pitch tends to be a little disjointed. I can only imagine what you must have been like starting off. You were passionate, you knew essentially what you wanted, but were there times you came out of a meeting and said, oh dear God, why did I go down that road? Or
many times.
Yeah, you were basically teaching yourself as you went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess what I had to fall back on was my years of experience, the connections that I had built, and the trust that, people who knew me would, have enough faith in me to be able to do a good job at supporting them. So that's what we did. 2015, we basically did very little business, and I had to lay Janessa off late 2015.
Wow.
And I really took a step back and evaluated, do I start looking for work? That's when the fear set in. That's when it would have been so easy to give up and let the rejection, take the better. And did I have moments that it did? Absolutely, I did. And I had many second thoughts. But I kept going. Janessa supported me part-time. And I just continued reaching out. And finally, in 2016, I'll say the end of the first quarter, things changed. And we started to get, a few clients come in the door. And then we were, filling roles. And I remember I did a contract where I put myself out, on contract. And it started to build. And then my confidence picked up, because, all that rejection takes a hit on your confidence, right? And, so my confidence started to build, and then you get experience. So then you can, you can promote the other work you've done when you're trying to get work, because you're absolutely right. That first start is, I don't have any history, as a company. Yeah. So it's building that history so that you can promote, the previous work. And 2016 picked up, and we haven't stopped. And it's 10 years later.
Well, it's interesting listening to you talk, and I can, as you're talking, I'm thinking about all those pitches you must have made and still came up empty. And I agree with you. That rejection is really, really hard to take. And when you're in business, you got to be prepared for that, don't you?
Yep.
But so the other thing that I think, in my experience, is that it builds a track record. Those scars of rejection. I find the confidence that you have when you're building a business, and if you look back to 2015 and see where you are now, well, I went through that in 2015. I can do that again if I have to, right? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that kind of experience and how the confidence has allowed you to keep growing for 10 years.
Sometimes you don't even think about it. You're in the weeds. Yeah. You come in every day and you just keep on working and you keep on working and you just keep growing. And sometimes I sometimes have to stop and look back almost to think, oh my God, wow, we've grown this much. How did that happen? Because again, sometimes, you're just building and growing, and you don't even realize how far you've come until you really do take a step back. I'm able to take more steps back now because I've surrounded myself with a phenomenal team, that is able to take the business and run and, give it the support. And we're constantly looking at ways to grow, and we're constantly incorporating, new ideas and trying to be creative. Again, trying to service our clients with the best advice and knowledge that we have. So it's a life learning process. But yeah, the confidence, I guess the success motivates you to keep going. You just keep going and growing. And we put a lot of effort into professional development, myself and even with the team. We've done countless courses at the Gardner Center. We've trained ourselves up in Connections Leadership Journey, which is a leadership training program. So you have to stay at it. Like if you want to be ahead of the game, if you want to be seen as experts, in your field and in your industry, you have to show up, and you have to keep learning and keep growing and coaching. And, as I coach my team, I have a coach that coaches me, because that's what you do. You never stop. Just because you have success, you don't ever stop learning, or you don't ever stop growing. You take it, and because you want to keep going to the next level.
Yeah. On that note, I'll never forget when you told me that you took the coach on about a year ago now.
Year and a half ago.
Interesting, because I knew you a business person who's grown her business from 9 years to 100 people. Frankly, a lot of business people wouldn't take on a coach because they think they know it all. I've met many business people like that. You're not one of those people. Tell me a little bit about this coach, because it's opened up my world based on the support that you've given us, which is incredible. Just tell us a little bit about your coach and how it's expanded your horizons.
So I looked at, again, as I said, I'm a lifelong learner, so I love to learn new things. So I came across this coach based out of the UK. His name is Mindy Paul, and he was trained under Bob Proctor, which is a well-known Canadian, no longer with us. And Bob was a very successful businessman, and he did his teachings from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And anyway, from there...
One of my favorite books.
It is a great book. And so, that's where Mindy got his training. And I just took a free master class at one point, and I just thought, I think I can learn a lot from this guy. And I wanted to work less and still continue to grow. And so that's what kind of sold me into doing it. How can I work less and make more, right?
Yeah.
And so I just signed up for his coaching and did a lot of the work. I've seen a lot of change and growth even in our business since doing that coaching, but mostly I think in myself, and just surrounding yourself with successful people motivate you to continue to be successful as well. And that's what I get with this group. So I was invited to go to the next level in our elite group, and there's only less than 10 of us invited to the elite group. And again, you feed off each other's success and, learning new ways of marketing and, how to change your mindset to be successful. And, one of the things that stands out for me with Bob's teachings was we are in control of our thoughts. And, a lot of times we let the outside world control our own thinking. If something happens, something as simple as on the way to work and, there's a traffic jam or you're delayed getting in, you can let that ruin your day, or you can decide that it's not going to ruin your day. We are in control of our mindset. And that was a big thing for me, like just taking that concept and realizing if things are slow, if, whatever out there happens, I don't have any control over it, but I do have control over how I think. And so it has helped me stay positive and keep that growth mindset. And I visualize the growth and success of my team and all of those things. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Some people get it.
Wait till I tell you something. And it's funny, what I love about doing what we do is all the times that I've talked to you, I don't think that book, Think and Grow Rich, has come up in our conversation. If it has, it went over my head. But that book, for me, when I was 25, I read it. And it had such an impact on me. The thing about it that I found interesting was Andrew Carnegie took Napoleon Hill under his wing and didn't pay him, but he introduced him to a lot of people that you've just described, like-minded, positive people. And Napoleon Hill went on to have an incredible life. I actually wrote my goals and everything based on a lot of what's in that book. And it's been, in business development, I've done well, but it's only now, Jacqui, that it's really, all of that is coming together. No wonder you and I have synergies, because that book has had such an impact.
Yeah.
And I wrote down a list of all the Newfoundland business people that I would want to meet. I still have it at home, and I've showed my 2 boys. I also was going through a time when my dad had died when I was 14. I was about 11 years in the wilderness, from 14 to about 25. And that book and a few others really helped me.
Wow.
So anyway, that's
There you go. So again, I've read the book as well, and my coach, a lot of the coaching is based on, like I said, Bob Proctor's work, which comes from, he actually read the book. His story was so interesting and it really caught me, but to keep it short, somebody introduced him to the book Think and Grow Rich. And he went from, in debt to obviously becoming a very successful multimillionaire. And through all of that, he wanted to learn what changed.
Yeah.
And really what it comes down to is your mindset.
Yeah.
So you can have a successful mindset, or a mindset that's based around fear or negativity, whatever.
Yeah.
But we are in the driver's seat. We are in control.
Well, I think in business, my experience with it, and I've been in sales for 40 years and my own business now, this iteration for 5. It can be, I tell people it can be a little lonely, and they look at me like, what the hell does that mean? You're talking to people all the time. But when you get up in the morning and you realize like the buck stops with you, there's times where that can be overwhelming, and imposter syndrome. Did you experience that?
Absolutely.
You did? How did you get over that? And sometimes, frankly, it rears its ugly head with me now.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence, but it was like, oh shit, here that comes back again, right?
Yeah, it does. And again, it all those thoughts can creep in at any point in time, but I think it's awareness, knowing we're not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. I have a great team, and I tell them, hold me accountable, point things out when, if I'm not on par. And it's accepting and realizing that we're not perfect. I'm learning this journey too. I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family, but I grew up surrounded by very smart, positive people. And I have tremendous support, from my family, but also from this team here. And I have a young team. You've met all my team. You've interviewed, Dylan, Janessa, Tracy, and, all the others that I have here. And they're go-getters. Yeah. And they're positive. And, I think we're very aligned. I'm now doing coaching with some of them from my program, because I just think it's important for us to be aligned.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I've met all of your team, and the team in Labrador. I was so excited. Yeah. Jacqui, by the way, thanks again for coming up and doing that. For anyone who doesn't know, Jacqui was the guest host for, I don't remember how, 30-something interviews. We did a lot in a 2.5-day window.
That was fun. Thank you for that opportunity, because, again, you talk about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I think that's been my slogan for 2025 is, and I think as a leader, if I expect my team to put themselves out there and do videos and do interviews and sit on panels, I have to do it. I have to show up. So, when you ask me to, come up and support you, at Lab West, Minex, that, imposter syndrome and all, I got in my head a little bit, and I thought, oh God, can I do this? And, what about if I mess up? And what about if I don't say the right things? And, those things went through my head, but not for long. I stopped them because I realized I'm in control and I can do this. I can do it. And that was it. I showed up. Was I perfect? Absolutely not. Did I learn lots from it? I did. And you'll always learn, but that's life. Yeah. That is life. Life is a lifelong journey of learning.
I want to say that in and of itself impressed the heck out of me, because I agree. We've been working with you guys now about a year, and you've asked your team to step outside their comfort zone. But what's really cool is that you're not sitting back and forcing them to step outside. You're doing it yourself, and I know this is it's not a natural process. You know, there's lights, there's camera, and all that, and you know, you really stepped up. But as I said to you, you know, you have a lot to offer. What I find interesting as well, as I said to you, I ended up in some senior management roles, really good at business development, really good at sales, really shitty at HR. You know.
Well, you can't be good at everything.
Well,
Gerry.
and I find it interesting. A lot of the managers that end up in the management roles are good because of the execution of what it is the company does. But then when you throw in 27 employees and 2 or 3 are having really serious issues, it's like, I was not prepared, Jacqui, one iota for any of that. And I'm so in awe of what an HR company does, because that's really complex stuff, I find.
Oh, it's people. People are complex. There's nothing simple about people.
No.
You know, and there's nothing black and white about people. You know, so I kind of look at the world we work in here and what we operate in as, you know, more of a gray area, or, you know, gray thinking, if that makes sense. You know, the black and white thinking and the gray, well, we're mainly gray, because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with a lot of issues. You know, people have a lot of stress and other factors in their life. Before they come to work, they have another life outside of work. We're only a piece of their, you know, full puzzle, I guess. And you know, so it's not simple. You can't, you know, look at sometimes situations and it's not black and white.
No.
It's, you know, and being creative and thinking outside the box, but always remembering that they're people at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, whenever I'm with you, I always reflect on my own career and the things like, oh my Lord, you know, being able to sell advertising, being able to do what I'm doing here, it comes, you know, so naturally. But you're right, it's a gray area, and I think that's where, like, this is black and white. Hook up the cameras, get the audio working, I know how to do that. You throw someone in that has substance abuse issues, spousal challenges, or whatever, oh my God, I'm like, how do I navigate that? So tell me a little bit about, you know, the experiences that you have in terms of helping companies, you know, HRPP, you know, what is it that you do? And I mean, that's a big question as well. But
it is, because HR is big, but I'll try to narrow it down into 3 main areas, I guess, that we give our primary support. And one is we do a lot of recruitment, okay? So companies come to us if they can't fill the roles themselves, or they're struggling, or they don't have the support, you know, within their own business to do it. They'll come to us and we'll recruit and find people that go to work for them. We call that like permanent recruitment, headhunting, whatever, you know, various terms on it. And then we also supply, you know, short-term or project type contract personnel. So again, they are on our payroll, but they're seconded to work in your organization. Maybe you only want them for 3 months. Or, you know, maybe you just need them to fill in to do a project. And when that's done, you don't need the person. So that's very common in the project world. And even with larger companies, sometimes if they have people off on leave, they don't want to hire somebody full-time permanent, so they come to companies like us. So we supply that to multiple industries. And like I said, we've gone as high as 100 people that are seconded out to work with various clients. So we don't manage them day to day, but we are responsible for them. And then the other piece is, I guess, anything else that's non-recruitment, so that falls under the umbrella of HR. So we support a lot of companies with their policies. You know, companies don't have policies in place, employment agreements. Maybe they want to terminate somebody and they're not sure how to do it. And there is a right and wrong way to terminate people, so we support them with that. We've done compensation and benefits surveys. We've done performance management programs and help companies work through implementing their performance management program. Almost anything and everything that has to do with HR and people, we can support.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, and I was in an industry that will remain nameless, that frankly, many senior people didn't really buy into some of the HR things that they should.
I get it.
training and safety in two of the things which really shocked me. So, again, I'm not going to mention the industry, but I was a little bit taken aback because I was a middle manager. I wasn't the top guy.
Yeah.
But there are some people in there, and it really pissed me off because the people under me deserve that person to have the strength, but more than that, the desire to make the place better. But I mean, I like a comment, some of those policies, someone would say, Jesus, what a waste of time doing this. I'm like, that is the foundation of the business. Am I wrong? I'm talking passionately here now, but
it is. It is the foundation, but it's also the rules. Yeah. So it lets employees know what to expect. It lets them know, what's available to them. It's kind of like your roadmap, your employment agreement, your policies and procedures. All of those, your onboarding, like all of that sets the tone when you're hiring a new person into your organization. If they come in and they don't have a written employment agreement, well, how do they know what's what? Yeah. You leave a lot to assumptions. If they don't know what the policies are for, time off or, disciplinary process, any of those things, so policies are like your roadmap in an organization, and they hold you accountable. They reduce the risk, because if something were to happen and the person signed a policy, stating they would or wouldn't do that, then you hold them accountable because they signed. So it's a way to reduce your risk and liability. It's a great way to communicate the expectations to your people, and it's just a good way to do business.
I love it. One thing comes to mind, with the success you've had over 10 years, I could see scope creep a little bit. If you're seeing things, you're hired to do HR, but you might be dealing with a manager that is possibly maybe doing something that not necessarily HR related, business related. Do you go down that road and say, look, Fred, maybe you shouldn't be doing this? Do you guys do that at all? Or
we have, yeah.
Because your business that you have, you care for them. I know you do. Yeah. I've seen it.
We would about those things. Yeah. And something else I didn't mention, Gerry, throughout the last 10 years, health and safety, we touched on that, right? And there's a lot of crossover between health and safety and HR, and, when it comes to respectful workplace and things like that. So about a year and a half ago, I also partnered with two other people, and we started a health and safety consulting company as well.
Just because you weren't busy enough, let's start another business.
I wasn't busy. But I saw a gap in my own business. I needed health and safety support, but I didn't need full-time health and safety people, right, to manage the office. I do have health and safety people that are out working, with our clients. But so I saw it as an opportunity, and I think, as a business owner, we always see opportunities, so our eyes are always open. We partnered and started a company called Adapt Safety Solutions. So I'm one of the partners, and then one of the other partners, there's three of us. She's the health and safety, expert and specialist. So she's the primary worker of that company, and it took us a year to grow it and build it because it's largely platform-based and consulting. But it's a fantastic bridge for the small to medium-sized companies that don't need full-time health and safety or full-time HR, which is where we come in with a lot of our clients. Then they can also access Adapt Safety Solutions to make sure that they have their health and safety program in place, that they're compliant with the workers' compensation in their province, if they want to become course certified. If they want to do business with any of the large industry companies in mining or oil and gas, you need to have a good health and safety program in place in order to even bid that work. So anyway, it's another company. It's about a year and a half old, and it's just getting momentum now.
It's very relevant to this conversation. Gale Force Wins is all about inspiration. And tell me how much fun it is to have another business started and you're digging in. And does it take you back to 2015 when you're like, oh my God, I'm trying to get this thing off the ground?
Sometimes it do, but I think I'm a little bit more knowledgeable now, and I've built up a lot of connections. So, it's in any business, you're gonna target the people you know, the companies you know. And, there's a lot of synergies in the clients I have in HR. Well, a lot of those clients also need health and safety support because they're the small to medium-sized businesses, even though we have some very large clients as well. We've been able, so it's in business development, you're going to target multiple sources, but you start with I call the low-hanging fruit, and they would be the people and companies that we already know and deal with.
I'm going to pivot a little bit and talk about community in terms of some of the associations you're in. I know you're in Energy NL, you're a member of NLO, missing many others, I'm sure. Tell us a little bit about, what it means to you to be part of associations and in the community.
Well, really, again, it leads back to business success, Gerry. It's all about your networking. If we look at the association, so yes, we're a member of Mining NL, Energy NL, Newfoundland Labrador Construction Association, and multiple chambers of commerce across the island. I am also on the board of NLO, which is the Newfoundland Labrador Organization of Women Entrepreneurs, because they were very pivotal in my early days of startup and an organization that I relied heavily on. So I felt it, my time to give back. But yeah, being part of all those associations, attending a lot of events. I mean, we see each other now in many events because we do attend a lot. And it's about having your presence. It's about, companies knowing you're there. It's an opportunity to network and meet other business people and companies, and honestly as well to have fun. It's a great way to get out and just sometimes connect but disconnect.
It's funny. I get it. And, some people have said to me, I'm not sure I get the benefit out of this association or that association. And I'm thinking, if you're in the construction world, it makes sense to be a member. One of the ones I struggle with is I'm not yet a member of St. John's Board of Trade. And part of the reason is we've been so busy in 5 years. Not only that, we're traveling around the world. We're not necessarily based just in St. John's. So I've held off on that. I know I need to be, but I just haven't had time, And I mean, you operate in all kinds of places, so it's not easy to be a member of all these.
It's not. It takes a lot of time, effort, money but it's an investment. Yeah. And if you're investing in your business, then I believe you have to spend money to make money. Yeah. And if you want to be recognized, then you put time and effort into your marketing, in your networking, and back into the community. So again, I think I briefly mentioned I have a degree in social work, and I did work in the community. So I'm also a big believer in giving back. So, when you give, you get back as well, but that's not the reason for giving, but it's just a law of attraction, right? And we are big believers here of giving back to the community. So I think any business who is profitable, should consider giving something back into the communities and to the vulnerable groups, and I just think that's the right thing to do.
Well, I'm just going to give an example to people. I think it was Kids Eat Smart in Labrador. Was that the group?
Yes.
I just want to tell people, Jacqui is not the type who just talks about stuff. She does it. She's conducting an interview with the lady running the Kids Eat Smart. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Selena. What does Jacqui do? But you gave $5,000, I think it was, to them. Think about that. She's a guest host for us, and she donates money to that cause. So I was really taken aback. And when I edited that, it was just really sweet moment, Jacqui. Just beautiful. And I know your guest on that episode was totally blown away. When do you go on a podcast and the host actually donates money to you? It doesn't happen. So that's an example. But
well, I didn't expect to do that either. But you know what? It just seemed like the right thing to do, and I could do it.
Yeah.
So why not?
Well, just tell me about this. And I like to say it this way, and forgive the profanity. You're the type of person that gets shit done. We need more people like that. I think in today's day and age, Canada in particular, productivity is down. What is it about you that wants to get shit done?
I love ticking boxes, Gerry. I have my running list, and I love to tick it off. Of course, there's never a clear sheet. It's always more things added. But I don't know. I guess I love to see the completion of things. I love to see the success in others. I don't know. I don't know. I've always been a go-getter. So you get shit done. And, you delegate, you rely on your team, and you pull them in to help you, which I'm fortunate enough to have a team now. I didn't always have a team, I was, the one on vacation working most of the vacation, but I now get to do vacation, so that's quite nice. But it's just seeing the completion of things. I don't like things hanging. I just want to get them done and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I think as you're talking, I'm sitting here with an HR person saying the word shit. Shame on me. But anyway,
it's all good.
Last question. I want to ask this, and it's one that we ask of all of our guests, but it's about advice. There's a lot of people, Jacqui, that look up to you, and then deservedly so. What advice would you give to a young lady, a young man who's thinking about primarily entrepreneurship, or actually, I'll tell you something. I interviewed Donnie Cody, and he talked about intrapreneurship. So being in an organization, you're using entrepreneurial thinking. So I'm going to widen it and say, what advice would you give to someone being entrepreneurial, intrapreneurial, whatever?
I gave this advice at something I spoke at a number of years ago for Small Business Week, and the lady keeps telling me, you have no idea, that changed my whole way of thinking. Don't let fear stop you. It's a 4-letter word, but it's very powerful, and it holds a lot of control over us if we let it. But that comes back to mindset. So, and believing in yourself, right? But which is all linked to fear, because if you let fear, we can come up with a million reasons why we shouldn't do something, and we can talk ourselves out of things. And a lot of it links back to fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not making money, fear of failure, like all of those things, right? And we can literally talk ourselves out of doing things.
Yeah.
But if it feels right, so again, trust your intuition. Do your homework, of course, and all of that, but trust your gut. If it feels right and you believe in yourself, then try not to let that fear, get in your way and stop you. A little bit of fear is okay to keep you on track and continue to, work on things, but don't let it stop you.
Love that. I said it was the last question, but I got another one that based on what you just said, and it's, your confidence has grown. One question I have is related to confidence versus arrogance. And I always struggle with that. And I've advised someone very dear to me that they straddle a line between confidence and arrogance all the time. And I don't think they quite get what I'm getting at. You exude confidence. Never have I felt any arrogance. This is a tough question, and I'm putting you on the spot.
I appreciate that. I don't know if anybody has ever said that, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, my question, I guess, is around, how do you, because I sometimes, I'm very confident in my execution around what Gale Force Wins is doing. And then in my head, sometimes I think, well, there's a little bit of arrogance in there. Bring it back. What do you do to control that?
Honestly, Gerry, I think it's just stay true to who you are. Don't forget where you came from. Remaining humble. Not afraid to go get my hands dirty, so to speak. Yeah. My very first job was working in a fish plant. I don't forget that.
No.
I'm the one that'll clean the office here. I'm the janitor, I kind of call myself. But yeah, I think it's just being humble and just staying true to who you are and not letting the success, it is what it is. I'm so grateful, and I practice gratitude every day, and I'm grateful, for everything, and even the success. And some days I got to stand back and realize, oh wow, we've accomplished all that. And Janessa and I, at times, and I would like for you to have a quick little chat with her because she's been with me 10 years from day one. And, at time, and I guess I always had somebody. I was never totally alone because she was with me even part-time when I had to lay her off that first year. So, but she was very junior, just at a university. So between us, we got through it, and making decisions, not being, I guess that the other piece of advice is not afraid to make decisions. Yeah. You have to be able to make quick decisions. Sometimes the decisions will not always work out, and then you take the lessons learned from those. You know, challenges are opportunities. They're lessons learned. They're times to do things better, to figure out what went wrong so you can improve the next time. So, you know, quick decision making, I think, is another strong element of business and going into business. So, I don't know, just stay true to who you are, and remember that, you know, this success would never be here without the support of a lot of other people.
Yeah. Well, Jacqui, you know, as we said at the beginning, we've been trying to do this deeper dive for quite a while. We've done a whole bunch of other things, but the deep dive is really important because I'm so impressed with what you've been able to accomplish, and you inspire me. I want to be more like you. Part of me is thinking, do I really want to grow Gale Force Wins as big as what you've got on the go? No, I don't know. But I will tell you this, that it's an absolute pleasure. You've gone to a point where you've employed up to 100 people. This community needs more people like Jacqui Bailey, and I thank you for being on. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Gerry, and I always love to work with you and Alan. You also bring a great energy to any event in any room, and to the work that you do. So I'm happy that we can work together and support each other and have good stories and share that energy. I love it.
Thank you for tuning in to Gale Force Wins. That's Gale Force Wins, WINS.com.